standing just south of the small town of Mount Crawford here in Rockingham County, Virginia. Now, on March 1st, there's a small fight here. But before we get into that, let's talk about why we're back in the Shenandoah Valley. This is 1865. Now, at this point, the Valley campaign of 1864 is over. The Valley has been burned, but there is still a Confederate force here. The last thing that Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant wants is for that Confederate force to be able to make another run at Washington, D.C. like they did in the summer of 1864. That force here in the Valley is still under General Jubal A. Early. However, it is much diminished as most of his troops have been sent down to Petersburg. But Grant is going to send General Philip Sheridan back into the Shenandoah Valley. And as he does so, on February 27th, Sheridan with 10,000 cavalry under the direct command of General Wesley Merritt will begin marching south or up the Shenandoah Valley. Under Merritt is Generals Thomas C. Devon and George Armstrong Custer. As they approach this area, they will be confronting Confederate cavalry under General Thomas Rosser. Now, Rosser only has about 200 to 300 men. His job is to delay Sheridan as much as possible so that Early can move his forces to a defensible spot. Right now, Early would be in Stanton. He can't defend Stanton. He doesn't have enough men, nor is Stanton a very defensible spot for him. So he is going to be able to move his men kind of east toward the city of Waynesboro. In the meantime, Early, knowing that he can't defend Stanton, has sent the wagon trains away. He sent any supplies that he has, anything militarily effective, away from Stanton to keep it out of the hands of Sheridan's men. Of course, the Confederates, not very well equipped, not very well fed. On the federal side, very well equipped, very well fed, and there's 10,000 of them. Rosser will accomplish somewhat his goal as he does delay Sheridan a little bit. But the battle here at Mount Crawford is very small. Rosser will move back. He will get on the side of the river here on the riverbank, the middle river or the middle fork of the Shenandoah River, and he will do his best to delay Phil Sheridan. He'll try to burn the bridge. That won't work. There will be these cavalrymen, 10,000 cavalrymen charging, and they will break Rosser's line, which will make Rosser have to flow back toward Early at Stanton. Early, finding this out, is a little disgruntled about it, but he's had at least some time to get his men down to Waynesboro. And that is where we will see the final showdown in the Shenandoah Valley. We're standing in the city of Waynesboro right now, and we're here because on March 2nd, 1865, this is the last fight in the Shenandoah Valley. It is an absolute disgusting day. It's sleeting and rainy. Now, Phil Sheridan's men have been on the Valley Pike, a macadamized road, very easy to move on, but they've now had to turn and move east toward Waynesboro in order to confront what's left of Jubal Early's army. The roads are terrible. Early's men have already moved from Stanton to Waynesboro, so the mud is thick. Again, you have sleet coming down as well. Not the quickest movement is going to happen. Early's men will get here on the night of the 1st, morning of the 2nd, and they'll set up, actually farther up on a knoll over here on a ridge line. And Early's got maybe 2,000 men. He has mainly under him General Gabriel C. Wharton, who has anywhere between 942 to about 1,000 men. He's going to have some home guard and some other. But where we're standing right now is the Plum House. This is the oldest house in Waynesboro. It was built between 1802 and 1806. And the Plums were here. As a matter of fact, one of the residents, Happy Plum, what a great name, actually will find some relics from the battle inside the house afterwards. Of course, the house will end up being used as a hospital as well. But the Plums are here. They're going to be hiding in the cellar. There's even a story kind of a local tale that Mrs. Plum, when she was downstairs in the cellar, that she got upset because her dress got caught on a nail and ripped. Not so much about the fighting and the damage to her house, which this house does have battle damage. She's upset about that dress in 1865. That's a big deal. But what ends up happening is that fighting will swirl around here. You're going to have the men of George Armstrong Custer coming in. This is going to be artillery under Woodruff, cavalry under Benjamin and Wells, and they're going to be confronting the Confederates up on this ridge and around this house. Now, up on the ridge will be Confederate artillery and Wharton's men. And this is the first major battle that the town of Waynesboro will witness. There have been skirmishes here following the Battle of Piedmont and things like that. All right, so as the fighting is occurring here, this is where the collapse of the Confederate line will start, right here at the Plum House. And Jedediah Hotchkiss, who has been here in the Shenandoah Valley really since day one, if you think about it, he was Stonewall Jackson's map maker. This is what he says of the Battle of Waynesboro. One of the most terrible panics and stampedes I have ever seen. There was a perfect rout along the road up the mountain, and the enemy dashed forward into the swarm of flying men, wagons, etc. The whole army was captured or scattered. The situation, as I turned and saw it, convinced me that all was lost, especially when I saw the general officers rush by me in a headlong stampede. Now, Stonewall Jackson said in 1862 or 1861, if the valley is lost, Virginia is lost. When you look at this Civil War trail sign here, the valley is lost in 1865. This is the final battle here in the Shenandoah Valley, and the Plum House serves as a great starting spot for any tour that you want to do of the Battle of Waynesboro. Again, oldest house in the town, still has battle damage. There are museum hours. Can't go in the house today, but there are times that you can call and set up an appointment, and they will let you come in, and you can see some of the battle damage and where the Plum stood and stayed in this house during this final battle. All right, so we are standing in the Confederate lines right now. This is Pine Street here in Waynesboro. At the time of the American Civil War in 1865, this was known as Gallagher's Woods. And this is where Early is going to set up his defensive line. His defensive line is going to move northeast to southwest. And it'll stretch along this hill across Main Street. But on the backside, or his left, it will be only stretching down to about 15th Street. There's actually going to be a hole in his line. He's not going to anchor it. We do know also that there was at least one artillery piece up here on this hill. And this was, Early set this up to discourage Sheridan from a frontal attack, inviting him to attack him on the flanks. Now, as a historian, looking back at some of the fights here in the valley and looking at Sheridan's fights with Early, Sheridan likes to attack Early's left flank. Early just so happens to leave his left flank open here in Waynesboro. He doesn't have enough men to really go all the way down to the river. He does not think that Sheridan's going to come around because the river is so close and that he will not be attacked by the left flank. That's exactly what Sheridan's going to do. And if we were standing here on March 2nd, 1865, there would be a lot of activity happening. You would have Early riding up and down the line, trying to encourage what's left of his men. You would have the muskets firing, the cannons booming. This is a battle right here in the middle of town. One other thing is there are still some massive oak trees that witnessed the Battle of Waynesboro here in this area. All right, we're now standing at the left end of Early's line. And I want to read a quote here from Union Captain Harlan Lloyd of the 22nd New York Cavalry about their advance here to Waynesboro. He says, "We started along that muddy road to make the last fight of the Shenandoah. That's here in Waynesboro." Now, Early's left is here, but there's a wide open spot between here and the Shenandoah River. What George Armstrong Custer is going to see is that opening. He says the enemy's left flank, instead of resting on the South River, was thrown well forward, leaving a short gap between his left and the river. That is exactly what the Union Army is going to do, is going to exploit here in Waynesboro. That opening is going to lead to George Custer, who's an effective commander of the federal forces here on the field. He is going to exploit that and turn Early's flank. That will be the collapse of the Confederate line here in Waynesboro, and it will now be a rout. As the line crumbles here, it'll crumble at the Plum House, and it'll crumble farther over along Main Street and such. Okay, we're standing here in Ridgeview Park, and this is where that Union flanking attack will come in and destroy what's left of Jubal Early's army. What ends up happening is there's a place here called the Sunken Lane. It is not a public place today. It goes between the baseball fields here in the park. But two boys, deserters from the vicinity, actually guided Custer, concealed by the woods that were on Early's left flank. And they went to the Sunken Lane, which led them from Greenville Road to the South River Ford. Now, this is the area that is unprotected by Jubal Early. He does not think the Union troops are going to come down here. It's exactly where they go. What ends up happening is that from this vantage point on the extreme left, the Union Army is going to scale the bluffs above the alley, the Sunken Lane. And from there, they're going to surprise the vulnerable Confederates, resulting in the Confederate line just absolutely disintegrating. This is where that quote from Jedediah Hotchkiss comes in of seeing the flight of the wagons and the troops. Are standing here in downtown Waynesboro, right here at Wayne Avenue and West Main Street, and this is the site of the death of William Harmon. Now, William Harmon was a Confederate soldier during the melee here in the town during the battle, as the Confederate position is right up on this hill. As they're sweeping down, Harmon will be here, and there's some controversy around his death. He is the only confirmed or identified Confederate that is killed here that we know of. We know there were some other injuries, and we know there are about 1,500 prisoners taken during this battle, but Harmon's the only one that has been actually confirmed as a death in the Confederate Army here in Waynesboro. But what happens is, as he's here, the story goes that he is possibly surrendering, and as he does so, he is gunned down. The other story is that he refused to surrender and pulled his sidearm while being surrounded by 5 federal soldiers, and then is killed right here at this intersection. So a neat little story. Of course, the Confederate Army will continue to fall back as that left flank has now been crushed. The rest of the line is disintegrating, and they will move back toward the South River. So we're at our final stop here on the Battle of Waynesboro tour. We are right here at the South River. Now, after the Confederate line has been basically demolished, it is now just a free-for-all, a rout. And there's not going to be many men that make it away from this battle. Most of them are going to be captured. But those that do get away will cross the South River near the area I'm standing in, including General Jubal A. Early, who will make his way down to Franklin County, Virginia, where on March 30th of 1865, he will be relieved of command of the army here in the valley, what was left of it. Now, we're not at this stop because this is the end of the battle. We're here because this was the end of an army in the Shenandoah Valley.
So right after Aaron and I finished shooting this video, we received an email from Mr. Jeremy Hopkins, who is with the Waynesboro Heritage Foundation, and he told us the story of Maria Lewis, which is a story in and around the Civil War, and specifically the Battle of Waynesboro, that doesn't really get told all that often. So I thought it'd be a very fitting way to close today's video by talking about the story of Miss Lewis. So she was born into slavery around 1846 in Albemarle County, Virginia, which is near Charlottesville. In October 1863, when the 8th New York Cavalry came through the area, she saw her chance. At 17, she disguised herself as a, quote, darkly tanned, end quote, white man, and enlisted in the Company C under the name George Harris, which was borrowed from a character in Uncle Tom's Cabin. She originally meant to use the disguise just long enough to reach freedom in the North, but she found that she kind of liked the army life and stayed on, riding, scouting, and fighting with Sheridan's cavalry in the Shenandoah Valley for the next 18 months. On March 2nd, 1865, she rode with the 8th New York at the Battle of Waynesboro, fighting almost in her own backyard, since the battlefield sat near where she'd been born and been enslaved. The 8th New York was part of Custer's force that shattered Jubal Early's army that day, and the regiment came away with a share of 17 captured Confederate battle flags. Lewis was chosen for the honor guard that carried those flags to Washington and presented them to Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, earning the men a month's furlough. She stood in the War Department as part of that ceremony, still disguised as a man, with no one there actually aware of who she was. Her identity came out shortly after, when she confided in Julia Wilbur, an abolitionist diarist and sister of a fellow soldier in her regiment. Wilbur's diary entry from April 4th, 1865 is the main surviving account of her service and confirms her role at Waynesboro directly. After that, the historical record goes quiet. There's no confirmed account of what became of her. For a Waynesboro piece, this story adds so much to the battle itself. It wasn't just about Custer routing Early. It's stories like this about Maria Lewis that make this battle one that it kind of hits home and adds a whole layer of depth to the battle itself.